No.
Woohoo! Okay. 3, 2, 1, marker. Oh my. Dude, why are you trying to pull your Sith, your Darth Vader rise type of thing?
No. Okay.
Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to another podcast. This is Jamie along with
Mega Man Dust.
And today we're gonna talk a special. Well, I don't know. Podcasts are special editions, but this one in particular, special edition. We are gonna be discussing Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Yes.
We just watched it this week on launch day, and this guy over here on a special private viewing, which nice. So let's get the let's start. Well, you go ahead and start. What do you think?
Initial reaction to the final film. Loved it. Enjoyed it. Cannot wait for the next 2 episodes.
Okay.
I'm saddened that I have
Oh,
to
wait. By the way, sorry for interrupting. Spoiler alerts. We're gonna be discussing parts of the movie, so you've been warned. Okay, you don't want to hear anything about the movie because you haven't seen it. Then you better just turn this off, move to a different video. Otherwise, big time spoilers. Okay, sorry.
Initial non-spoiler first. It was a good movie. It was very much in the vein of the original Star Wars. And if you're a fan of science fiction or Star Wars in particular, you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, it was an amazing movie. I think J.J. Abrams captured the spirit of the original Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it felt true to the original classics, and some of the stuff that was discussed in the movie, it felt more closely related to the original trilogy rather than the prequels. You know, before watching this movie, we had a mini marathon of one of the prequels and then the original trilogy. And let me tell you, it just watching them back to back like that, it just feels this. I mean,
it's jarring.
I like them. I mean, I'm probably one of the few that actually like the prequels. They're entertaining, and obviously they're Star Wars films, so I like them. But once you watch them in a series, they don't feel.
Yeah, they don't gel together as
No,
a
they don't.
cohesive saga. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they each have their own series, they each tell their own story individually, and it works fine. It is Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
But back to back, like you're saying, they don't seem to fit
No,
in
they don't.
any typical order. This new one, however, having just seen it in the theater, so my goggles stuff like, oh, I love it, is still on.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like I can see. That's why I'm saying I want to see the next 3 in this series because I feel like these can fit right. You can go from watching Return of the Jedi to The Force Awakens and feel like it's in the same family. You know?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, J.J. Abrams captured the spirit of Star Wars. He made it feel like the classics all over again, and it's interesting. Now we're gonna go with the spoilers. You know, like I said, some of the topics that were discussed. You know, for example, the Force.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when this Force was being discussed, it was like Yoda in Empire again. You know, it's just a force that is all around you. You know, binds the universe together. Not the midi-chlorian piece of shit that they were introducing in the
it goes
the
back.
prequels, you know.
And again, I'm gonna go a little tangent here. I mean, it makes. I didn't like it, but it made the weird sense for the prequels because they've had the Force for how long? They've studied
Yeah.
it. They know about it.
Yeah.
Sure, go with it. But this brings us back to the new films. Brings us back to us as the audience. The Force, as you call the first films, is this mysterious, strange power that awesome Jedi Knights and Sith Lords can do stuff with.
Mm-hmm.
But it has that sense of wonder, of awe, of like what can be, and that's the same experience that the characters are learning about in the first trilogy. And you see the same awe of the characters in this new trilogy as well. It's like, oh, what is this Force? It's strange.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. How does it work?
Yeah, because
and so
it
they're
has-
talking about it in not very concrete terms. And I think
Yeah, because
Han.
because now Han, you know, as you know, it takes about 30 years after the original trilogy, after Return of the Jedi, and by then, you know, Han, except Leia, but Han and Luke are thing of legend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're considered a myth. You know, especially Luke. You know, because again, spoilers. In this story, Luke has taken off after the event. After what happened is that I think it's kind of, even though I was doing some reading and they say it has nothing to do with expanded universe, but I think it does have a little bit to do with expanded universe because I remember reading, I forgot which books in expanded universe. It talks about Han and Leia's kid being turned to the dark side in the midst of training with Luke, and this is what happens here. You know, Luke trains his son, their son, and Luke's and Leia's son, and then turns to the dark side, their kid, and he feels guilty and he takes off. So he ends up, he's been gone for so long that he becomes a thing of myth and legend, you know. And the same thing with Han Solo. His character is also when some of the new characters meet him, it's like, you are the Han Solo. I mean, it's like, I can't believe it. It's like, you are a living legend, man. I mean, it's like, I can't believe you exist, you know. And the same thing with the Force, you know. It's just something that is considered a myth, at least by the general population in the universe, in the Star Wars universe.
But in terms of the Force and how the characters are responding to it, yeah, so it goes back to that original feel you had when you're in the theaters, you're watching it,
Yes.
that sense of awe and wonderment. And it feels real within the scenario the characters find themselves.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I didn't feel like I was way down with, like, weighty exposition about something I wasn't really interested in. Just kind of like, this is the Force, you remember it, fundamentals, let's go from here.
Let's go. Okay. There is plenty of action in the movie. It doesn't feel it doesn't drag as much as the original Star Wars did in the beginning because it was character development and blah blah blah, you know. And here, even though there's some character development because it's introducing new characters, it flows rather fast. The action is there, but it's not as daunting as to this is just smashing action and explosions time after time after time. You know, I mean, it goes on very nicely. There is, you know, kind of like character development, action, character development, action.
Yeah.
More character.
And see, now in that
cohesive
regard, from a personal perspective, I would have liked some kind of setup, like some kind of like web miniseries from the actual like cast and crew to kind of speed me up over like the last 30 years, or at least maybe the last year or so for some of our characters, because in this one film it was long, and I don't remember what running time was, but it was good. But I didn't feel like I really came to know a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
Rey, we got a pretty good idea of not who Rey is. I mean, she's still a mystery, right? But of her character and the place that she is in that point in time, we know who she is and her feelings. Finn was a little bit. He was kind of funny. I kind of feeling he's kind of be like the Han Solo character in this one. I don't, because at first I think he was, you know, before I saw the film, I was thinking he was going to be the Jedi. I don't think he is.
That's what I thought too.
Obviously, the Jedi is going to be her. And when I saw her at the end, I was like, the clothes that the clothes she was wearing. I mean, that was a very Jedi attire. I mean, fit for where she was living too. But it was like, it looked like a Jedi attire.
Yeah.
But and Finn, obviously, he's a stormtrooper, and I thought initially before he was going to be the stormtrooper, but obviously now he's more the Leia. You know, like he's more the Han Solo character.
Yes.
Obviously, possible love interest for her. It's my guess down the road. But I didn't feel that there was enough to really get me invested in his reasons and motivations, other than the fact that I don't like this and why, especially if he's kidnapped as a young age, and why is he turning now? Obviously, I know he's his first mission. He's like feeling like blah, but it doesn't tell me enough of him. They gave me a base of who this character is without any to the top, but it didn't dig deep enough.
Yeah,
for
especially
me.
because I mean, it sounds also like they're clones.
Yeah.
So they continue the clone technology, and yeah, it's okay. It's good that he has a conscience and he wants to do the right thing, but it just feel kind of like, okay, if they're clones, I mean, what kind of technology they use? Because at least in the prequels, clones are supposed to be susceptible to manipulation and to obey mindlessly. So this clone is kind of like, okay, so what's going on here? It felt a little bit kind of like, okay, where is he coming from? What's his motivations to actually grow a conscience and say, I don't want to do this anymore for the.
So in that guy, he was a little too hollow of a character. Not so hollow. His base was empty to me. I mean, I liked where he was going as a character.
Yeah.
He was interesting, but I just from that regard, I was like, I can't really get behind him, like liking him as like I like this character. Like enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
Just because I know I've seen this before, Like, oh, here's someone who's obviously anti-oppression. Oh, I'm gonna fight this. So they go this way. Okay, I get that. But what are your motives? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it probably because that's something I was gonna talk about right now. The two biggest bombshells in the game. I mean, major bombshell again. Number one, the one that they kind of threw me off. Minor one was the destruction of Coruscant.
Oh, I know.
Not just Coruscant, the entire Coruscant system, like 4 or 5 planets at the same time destroyed the capital world. It's like, holy shit! It's like freaking J.J. Abrams is at it again. I mean, in Star Trek he destroyed Vulcan, now he destroys Coruscant. It's like bastard. It's like, what the hell? That's the only thing I think.
And there was so much history there from like,
Yes.
like Imperial Archive. That's where, so I remember the Imperial base was located, like their headquarters, right, their capital, after they go over from the Old Republic, and I think that's where the New Republic set up. But just historically, the archives that, again, the books and stuff aren't really canon anymore, but you can kind of think about where this kind of would go in the storyline. The thought is there's some kind of historical text there that could be useful for the Jedi and researching. That's gone.
That's gone. Yeah.
So
that was mind blowing. When I saw that, I actually thought it would be like the Hollywood last minute save, and something will happen in the rebellion. Not the rebellion, the what they call now the resistance would come on and save Coruscant. No, I mean Coruscant is erased from the map. I was like,
another side point. Why I wish they had a little miniseries or something. I don't understand why the Resistance is fighting them and not the New Republic. What's the fallout?
Well, no, the Republic, the New Republic is aiding the Resistance. It's more like a political thing. The New Republic is aiding the Resistance. So the Resistance is just a name. It's basically their army, their extended army.
See, that wasn't. I got the support, but it wasn't quite the feel like, kind of like the Republic was kind of like, well, we'll fund these guys, kind of like.
We'll let you get your hands dirty, and if everything goes okay, yeah. If not, then oh well. It's like, I don't know who these people are, you know.
That's the feel I got, which is weird. Probably be answered in the next one.
Yeah, probably. And then obviously the biggest bombshell, Hansel dying, man. It's like, what the fuck?
I was surprised as many lived as they did from the old cast, because I knew they were going to be around for a long time. But I was surprised it was Han to go first.
I know.
But actually kind of sad too after seeing Carrie Fisher's performance.
I know. It's something that pissed me off that, Han is dead. And neither Chewie or Carrie Fisher, okay, sure, they were sad. Carrie Fisher, Leia felt a kind of disturbance in the Force of her son killing Han. But then it's like, that's it. I feel almost like the Emperor's New Groove. It's like, well, he ain't getting any better, so let's move on.
I will say, Chewie lost his shit though when Han died.
Well, yeah,
he was like out in the open just shooting people.
Well, it was at the moment, yeah. But then once that scene was done, it was like, okay, I'm sorry, did I fight that? Did I get pissed off? Oh well, I'm already over that. There was no real. To me, there was no real mourning.
Well, he got the Falcon back. That's what he wanted in the end, anyway.
Yeah, that's what he wanted. Yeah, it was. I don't know.
But Han went out like a badass. I'm saying that's not the way I saw envisioned in my mind, like Han dying. My whole story for this was different. Like Han and Leia were a couple, and whatever else. But that's my own fan fiction. I'll look it up later. But Han, first of all, he had the sweetest maneuver he probably could have ever pulled off for this character in this universe: a jump from hyperspace down directly onto a planet. Now, I don't care what science fiction you read, that's usually an impossible feat, right?
Yeah.
Somehow this badass pulls this off. Typically, that's not a common maneuver. It's as badass as space piloting gets. And so that was like his magnum opus right there in terms of like, that's better than the Kessel Run.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely better than the Kessel Run. But one thing's for sure, though, I was thinking right now when you were talking about it off camera, I was thinking Cinema Scene's gonna have a field day with that maneuver right there.
No.
Yeah, exactly. No, just the friction with the atmosphere, blah blah blah. No. Yeah.
But yeah, so we've seen that's like the pinnacle of like the personal achievements for what this character has done. on like a grand scale, and then we see him kind of stripped away from that right before this, I would say, famous death.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. It's not like I didn't feel like a very overacted or dramatized death. It very much felt, and something what they were going for, obviously. It was very personal.
Mm-hmm.
It was a father and his son, and it
yeah.
played out almost like if this universe were real. Like I see something like this happening. The
Yeah.
father's there. He's trying, son, come back. He thinks I'm reaching out to this kid, even though maybe I don't really want to, even though he does. But he's doing it because the love of his life says bring him back, and he's trying. He thinks he makes this connection. He feels good inside. He feels, that's when our character, for him, he feels, I've done this, and I can be happy, I can be proud. And this kid, what does he say? He said like thank you or something, right? Because they're talking, but not about the same thing.
No, no.
And so from his
thinks they
father,
are, but they're not.
he gets that closure that he thinks he needs, and runs him through so he can feel what he told his master he would do, and just the look on Han's face, and just like what would Pilate say to Brutus, whatever, right? You know,
I mean,
and he just falls, and it just nothing like, oh, why did you kill me? I'm
yeah,
like, no,
no, because the look on his face was a kind of like a why, but then after that, once he he retracts the lightsaber, that first shock and awe changes to, doesn't matter what you do or who you are, I still love you.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he reaches out and touches his face, and you can see all that love from father to son, in it's a very sad scene, and but it shows a Han that regardless, he at least himself has come to terms with his son.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously a son is never gonna come to terms with Han unless whenever he goes back to the light side. But yeah, I mean, you can tell that the dynamics there. It wasn't overacted. It wasn't overly dramatic. It was just as good as in real as he would get for Han Solo were he to exist. Kind of like in Empire Strikes Back. When Leia tells him I love you, and he says I know.
Mm-hmm.
This is just, he still keeps his cool, but this is more a more mature, more mature Han that you were talking about earlier. And is a father son love that he has come to terms. He has expressed to his son without words that he still loves him regardless of who he is or what he does.
I don't know. Again, it's reading in a lot to it from what the directors wanted and what the characters the actors trying to portray. But so just I saying that going from, I forget the name of the actor who played the son Kylo Ren character, but in his eyes, for me, I was like, he knew at that time what he was doing to his father, and he knew how his father felt, and I felt in the killing, he still said, Leia said, there's still some good in him, right? He felt like he's like, ooh, like why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Almost like he's just kind of mindlessly joining on,
fucked up, yeah, exactly. So let's see. Another thing that that stuck out, in regard to the actors. This time the actors, not the characters, but Han and Leia. I mean, well, we know Han. I mean, Harrison Ford. We've seen other movies, so we know he's up in age. But Carrie Fisher, she hasn't been around in a long time because problems that she has had with alcoholism and drugs, drug addiction and stuff like that. And seeing her in this movie is like, damn, she's old.
That's a nice way of putting it. I saw her and I was like,
holy crap!
Why did Han have to die first?
Don't
get me wrong. I mean, Luke has like, almost not joking, 30 seconds of screen time.
Yeah.
I thought he could have more. Didn't say much or anything.
Yeah.
But we've heard his voice for many years as the Joker and so on. He's gonna come to his role and he's gonna be Luke, right? Like you said, we've seen Harrison Ford. We're familiar with him. So even though he's aged, we're used to him. He still has a Han Solo vibe. We haven't seen Carrie Fisher in a while, and it's not so much. Obviously, that shouldn't look like Leia. Duh, it's like 30-some years later, right?
Oh yeah.
But I felt like I was watching someone trying to be Leia that wasn't Leia.
Yeah, she felt like again because of the age, and the fact that we haven't seen her in a while, we didn't really see her age like we saw Harrison Ford. You know, throughout the years and watching him movies, we saw him age and we saw him grow. So it was easier for us to assimilate him, the actor, as being part of this. It's like, okay, he's back, but Carrie Fisher, like I said, she hasn't been in ages in anything,
And it might be
or very small parts. So it just felt like, I mean, like you said, it's like, who is this playing Leia? I mean, it didn't feel like Carrie Fisher.
and I mean, far be it from me. I'm obviously not a actual critic of acting or actors, but I felt that her parts rang really hollow to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was trying to be the Carrie Fisher that played Leia, but wasn't, because I didn't feel the emotion in her. I don't know if it feels corny to say that. I didn't feel like her parts with Han really connecting, and maybe it was the rigidity in her face,
Yes.
the lack of emotion from the delivery, and the luck. I mean, like when we find out, and this is a director thing. Like when she finds out that Han's dead. We don't see much of any way of a grievance there, of a sadness, like, oh my god, this hit home.
Yeah,
And it's just like, boop, okay, Luke.
I know exactly.
Maybe
I
that's
mean,
in director's cut. I don't know.
yeah. What else can but anyway, one thing I want to mention, though, going back to the whole you know, references to the original movies and everything, I think to me one of the biggest nods that Disney could have ever made in regards to honoring the original trilogy was in the very, very beginning of the movie. You know, one of the biggest fears that people had, myself included, when we knew that Disney purchased you know, LucasArts, is that they were going to have the castle with Tinkerbell going over, you know, before the LucasArts logo with some corny da 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 da, you know, and then going with a long, long time in a galaxy far, far away. But no, you know, I don't know if it was a Disney call or a J.J. Abrams call, or maybe a joint call of the producers and himself. But the way the movie starts, as you know, it's all dark and silent. And next thing you know, is the LucasArts logo just shining as usual, and then the words, you know, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. No soundtrack, nothing, just solemnly quiet. And if correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you noticed, but if you really think about it, the moment the film starts until the moment that the Star Wars banner pops up and the fanfare for the Star Wars scene, I think it's the exact same time as if he had the 20th century logo in the beginning.
Oh, really?
Because it was also a big chunk of black, of darkness. And if you resign your mind, if you go, you know, if you sat through the entire spoiler, or if you go again to watch the movie, just think about the moment if you know the theory you go to, whatever they do before the movies, and then when the screen goes black, and then if you recite in your head, I bet you it's the exact same timing of the fanfare for the 20th Century Fox. And to me, that was a big acknowledgement by Disney or J.J. Abrams or both, acknowledging that the 20th century logo and fanfare are a big part of the Star Wars saga and universe, and they are acknowledging it by not putting anything in front of it and just leaving it blank as a little homage to 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, I think honestly that was a very smart move by there. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, the psychological impacts of that, because I can, just like you're saying, automatically, if they played that in front, most people, yeah, they'll enjoy the movie, but they're gonna be thinking about that throughout the movie. Oh yeah, the Disney thing. Oh yeah, the Disney thing. It's gonna kind of sour. Not against Disney, but you said the association between that sound, that trigger for 20th Century Fox and Star Wars, right? So even though it's a new company's Disney, in this case IP, you don't want to obviously turn off the fan base because you want their money to keep coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously you put that logo somewhere else. You put that at the end or whatever, just so that way, at least in the theaters when they're showing it, that's not the sound that's kind of going through their head while they're watching it. And I think that was actually really, really good.
Yeah, really good. Even you know, save for the credits. Even though I knew it wasn't gonna be end credit scene, because there's never been an end credit Easter egg on Star Wars, I still to the very end just to enjoy from beginning to end the movie. And even J.J. Abrams, his Bad Robot production company, their logo was at the very end. You know, at the very, very last end, as well as Disney. So, to me, to me, I felt I felt like going to Disney and shaking their hands. With their, like it felt good that they acknowledge and they like you said, acknowledge the fan base and their concerns by not putting their own logo in front, and just say, hey, you know what? I know what this means to you guys, and even though they're not distributing the movie anymore, we're gonna respect, their contribution over these past 30 years, and you guys as the fans by not putting our logo in front of it, even though now we own them. We own Star Wars. That's pretty cool. Anything else you want to mention?
I don't remember if we got this, but also Luke. Luke was talked
about. We can.
He's gonna play such a big part in the movie, and yes, he did, because a lot of it was about them trying to find Luke. But honestly, I think you saw as much of Luke in the trailer as you did in the movie.
The movie, yeah.
It's like 30 seconds, kid you not, of screen time.
Yeah, it was like a minute or two, and that was about it.
I loved every second. Didn't say anything, as I recall.
Yeah, he did not say anything. It was the very last end of the movie. And it leaves it as a minor cliffhanger as to what's yet to come. It's like, yeah, you can't wait for the next one to see him come back and stuff. But yeah, I honestly thought I was one because knowing a little bit of the expanded universe and how Luke eventually turns to the dark side in the expanded universe, I actually thought that the bad guy was Luke, especially the way they were doing the whole advertising and the campaign.
I was kind of hoping it would be Luke. I thought that would be kind of cool.
But if you really think about it, now thinking more of that storyline in the expanded universe arc, as I was mentioning before, Han Solo had two kids. I think it's two kids, a boy and a girl. I think it is. And then the boy gets turned to the dark side while he's being trained. Luke brings it back to the light side, but at the cost of his own, of himself, because in that arc, in that novel, he turns to the dark side in turn. Okay, and then after that, Leia, I don't remember if she learns about the Force or she already knows about the Force, but Leia helps Luke bring him back to the light side. So I have a slight feeling that it's going to be loosely based on that. Even though I went online and tried to find out more about the arc, it's supposed to be an original story, but I do believe it's loosely based on that, and we'll see in the next movies if it is, because obviously, it's no brainer. The Hans and Leia's kid, he's gonna play a central part on the next two movies, and he might have redemption by either killing himself while trying to dying while trying to kill a bad guy, kind of like Anakin did in episode 6, or he's gonna be converted back by Luke, and then in the process, I bet you Luke is gonna turn to the dark side and then bring in episode 9 into place.
That would be interesting. I'm not really looking that far ahead. I want something different. We've seen a lot of this before, and I want a villain who's not like black and white. I am the villain, to be conflicted, but stay true to what he said. Like, I want this kid to be evil through. I've made this bed. I'm gonna sleep in it now, without looking towards episode 9.
Yeah.
So if they play that, that'd be kind of cool. I kind of see Luke training Rey, having to go up against this kid because obviously he has some interest in her as another Force user, maybe as an apprentice or something like that or whatever, and him having to fight her. And I see probably Luke, if not the second one, towards the beginning of the first one, getting killed by this kid, and then she has to avenge her master. That's kind of how I see this going. Yeah. But we've all been there. We've been there before with Star Wars. There's not too many stories you can really tell.
Yeah, exactly.
But I loved that end scene so much. Like, from there, I was like, another 2.5 hours. I can just watch. I love the setting. I love that little island. I felt like I was in a video game. She comes up to him. She gets a lightsaber. She's like this.
And
just like, he doesn't even take it yet. It's just, this movie ends right there. It pans around. I love that pan that they did. And Luke's looking at her. And then in black. Yes. I was like, no.
More, yeah.
You can't do this.
I know. Does he take it? Does he not? Does he kicks her out? I mean, what the heck is going on? What's going to happen?
And that look on her face. I think she's his daughter. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that look on her face, and I was just curious as to why, even if she wanted to go, that's fine. But why they just sent her and Chewie after Luke? Everyone's looking for Luke. They send this random girl. Chewbacca makes sense.
I mean,
Sorta.
Leia should have been. I mean, you're right, because Leia should have been the one going. I mean, the sister should have been there too.
I mean,
in that.
she's looking for him. It makes sense. Why send this one girl, who no one else? I mean, even if they say that she's has Jedi powers, no one else knows that yet. You know, Finn a little bit, but he was knocked out for most of it. So no one really knows that. And that look of astonishment on her face. Yeah, that's this Luke Skywalker she's been hearing about. But why her?
Yeah.
Maybe she's not, but she has some connection.
Yeah, she has some connection. She's either the second child of Han and Leia, or
Which doesn't make sense because they both saw her.
Yeah,
Didn't say anything.
Or he is what's it called? She is Luke's daughter. I mean, either or. I mean, there's a lot of questions that need and hopefully will be answered by the time episode 8, and hopefully hopefully one stretch to the episode 9. But I mean, yeah, I'm really looking forward to episode 8. Episode 8 is gonna open on according to what I read in 2017. It's gonna go back to its original Star Wars release date of Memorial Day weekend.
Nice.
I was gonna say destined. It's slated to be released on I think May 27th, which is Memorial Day weekend. I'm guessing so.
Okay. Strike him down, and you'll become more powerful than you can ever imagine. Hello?
Crazy you are with the Dark Force. Well,
I would be a Sith Lord. I would die, but I would be a Sith Lord. Chain, be calm. Give me the mad skills now, son.
Hopefully we are that you enjoyed this episode. This is Jimmy along with
Mega Man Dust.
Wishing you a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And thank you for watching.
May the Force be with you.
Always. Red 5 standing by. I know it's Star Trek. Dumbass. Oh god.
And I expected to see more about this super awesome X-Wing pilot.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah, I mean, he's an awesome X-Wing pilot, so I'm doing some cool stuff. But who is he? Why do I care? And maybe I'm asking too many questions, because we all accepted Wedge Antilles as being awesome. But what did we know about Wedge Antilles at the time? He graduated from TIE Fighter School, and he was an X-Wing pilot, and he was in Red Squadron and then Rogue Squadron. Other than the books, which were non-canon canon, that's all we had to go on. Like, all the Star Wars stuff, we just made up on our own. And George Lucas was like, sure, run with it. And now J.J. Abrams are like, well, we're going to forget this, but maybe sort of kind of borrow from it so you can feel happy, but we're still going to make our own money. I don't know. It's a rant, but that's how I feel about it. Why did you record that?
Oh, God.